We're rolling.
Sounds good.
Amy, thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here
Big brothers, big sisters.
of Big Sky Country.
What can you tell me about it?
Well, the elevator speech is Big Brothers Big Sisters has been around nationally for about 120 years. And then in this area, we've been operating for about 54 years. And kind of the gist of what we do is one-to-one mentorship with adults in the community who get matched with kids ages 5 to 18 that maybe have similar interests or availability or things like that. And then they go out in the community and do fun things together. It's a pretty low time commitment. We ask that bigs and littles spend between 4 and 6 hours a month together, which is pretty minimal given how much time we all waste on our phones every day. And we hope that they stay together for at least a year just to kind of maintain that continuity and relationship building and all of that. But it's pretty awesome. We do kind of what people know us as is like big brothers and big sisters, but there are big couples and big families as well. And what I just described as the community-based program, we also have some site-based programming in Ennis, Big Sky, and Livingston. And that's where older kids in the school are matched with younger kids. And they facilitate time together during the school day with staff. Our staff kind of facilitating that and planning the activity and things like that, which is a really great program to kind of gear up those littles. They're for sure going to want to be bigs when they're in high school. And then those high schoolers, when they graduate, it's really common for them to reach out to whatever community they end up landing in to become bigs in the community.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's like early 1900s is when this
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Do you know that origin story?
I don't know the origin story. That is a question. I want to say it was in New York or Philly. And super vaguely, it just started with a gentleman, I think, that decided that young guys don't have enough mentors in their lives often. And so that's the base of what I know. I don't know much about the origin story.
So, and you said you've been with this organization specifically here for 4 years?
I have. I started in May, it'll be 4 years. I started out in programming, which was the side of things where I would enroll, interview, do the background check, and for the bigs, the littles, and the parent guardians, and then kind of look at who is available and figure out who might be a really good fit, and then match them up and kind of support them in that. And once bigs and littles are matched, it's not like we're good luck out there. We have a match support specialist, and that's why Big Brothers Big Sisters is the, as we say, like the Cadillac of mentoring programming because of how long we've been doing it and the safeties that are in place and the supports that are in place. So our match support specialist actually checks in with the big, the little, and the parent guardian for once a month for the first year of the match to kind of see if they're having any issues, support, give them ideas of things to do, and things like that.
So you guys are moderating and offering training support
Yeah.
from prior to the match and then ongoing
Yeah,
throughout the match.
absolutely. There's lots of, through nationals, there's lots of supports with different trainings around very specific subjects or struggles that kids might have, but every big that's enrolling in the program and parent guardian take different trainings to make sure they know what to look for with mental health struggles and staying safe with boundaries and all of that.
How did you get into this? Did you have prior history with it?
Yeah, I like joke that I have always worked with or for kids from like my 14-year-old job at Chuck E. Cheese.
Nice.
I know. I can't remember your name, but I
Uh-huh.
can remember the song I sang at Chuck E. Cheese when I was 14. Very stinky outfit, by the way, to dress up in. So it's just kind of always been my thing to want to support kids in some way. And I've worked in preschools and daycares and even when I was staying home with my kids, did a co-op preschool with a handful of moms that were kind of in the same situation as me. And then when my youngest started back to school, I started working in the school district and I was there for 6 years working with and supporting kids that maybe are a little neurodivergent, not necessarily that are in a special classroom, but ones that needed just extra support, either academically, socially, emotionally, or sometimes hygiene. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I did that for 6 years and kind of got a little burnt out working with kids and decided I needed to shift to working for them a little bit more. So I had a little break in there, went and worked at a mental health place and didn't quite have what I wanted as far as direct impact for children. And then this job came up because someone I had worked with was on the board, and she's suggested that I apply. And it felt like a really good fit because I was a big sister a lifetime ago. When I moved to Bozeman, probably 24, 25 years ago, was a big
Okay.
sister for about a year or so before I had my first daughter. And so it felt really full circle to walk back in the same building that I had applied to be a big 25 years ago and then work there.
That's very cool that that
Yeah,
came
yeah,
all the way back around.
for sure.
If we talk about the kids that are littles in this program, how is are they how do they get signed up for this? Does a parent or a guardian uh, enroll them essentially?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So sometimes we get referrals from, say, a school counselor or a different program in the community that maybe isn't the best fit for a kid, that a counselor, or sometimes we get referrals from the Thrive Cat Mentor program where an adult and kid are meeting in the school in Bozeman and they want to do stuff outside of that. Um, but parent guardians do have to initiate the enrollment and getting their kids signed up. And it's quite an interview process. We interview the parent extensively. We talk to the kid to kind of figure out personality and interests and if there are any really big challenges that we might need to be aware of so we can make sure we're matching them with a big that has the capacity to handle it if there are challenges. So any kid can be enrolled with Big Brothers Big Sisters, um, whose parent thinks that they would benefit from an extra adult in their life supporting them, which in my opinion is everyone, including like me. I would like a big sister sometimes. Um, but having said that, I would say probably the majority of the kids in our program have some sort of adverse background experience or would be in the category of at-risk youth. So,
What's the age range that kids are for enrollment? Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mule Media is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, or passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, post it in your story. That one simple action helps these businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this show keep going. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. Now back to the show.
kids can be between 5 and 18 years old, and occasionally we can go a little bit beyond 18, but we're not really set up for that. Um, and so when people enroll, it really is that interview process, specifically with the big. People tell me that it's the most extensive interview they've ever had in their life and have never been asked a lot of these questions. Um, but we're really wanting to know what the big is wanting to get out of this experience as well. So we ask a lot of questions around their preferences around age or types of activities, personality of children, introvert, extrovert, all sorts of things, in order to figure out who's going to be a really good fit. So it's definitely not first come, first serve. We might have an incredible big enroll, but because of really specific preferences or their certain skill set, they might not get matched for a while until we find a really good fit.
Yeah, I first did Big Brothers Big Sisters probably 2018, so roughly like 8 years ago.
Okay.
I don't remember it that well, but I do remember it being relatively extensive with the
Mhm.
interview process, the training, and unfortunately the match didn't work out. There was just some issues with the guardian, which I'm sure that kind of stuff happens more than
Definitely.
you'd like, but it just um anyway, we weren't able to make the things happen that we had planned, so it didn't end up working out. But I remember it being a very interesting, kind of introspective interview.
Yeah.
Asking so many questions. Why am I doing this? Who was a mentor in my life,
Yeah,
etc. And
for sure.
I enjoyed it. I would probably enjoy it even more now than I did then.
Yeah, I love that question. And as a result, I've kind of started questioning myself of why does this matter so much to me? And I recently did a PK at the Ellen presentation, kind of about my own mentorship story. And, as much as you can say in 6 minutes and 40 seconds
Yeah,
there on that presentation, but it really was great to think about my own story and why this matters so much to me and my different mentorship experiences that got me to where I am right now.
yeah. And I did cap mentoring for 5 years with this same mentee. Little, I don't know if
Okay.
I think there's different
Yep,
terminology,
that's right.
and it was a great experience. And I'm in touch, still in contact with him. He did move back to the Midwest, which is where he was originally from, but like I love that kid, and we just like we had such a good vibe by
I love that.
by year 4 or 5.
Absolutely.
And when I started doing it, I don't, not that you ever know, but I probably overthought it a little bit. What am I doing? Am I doing this right? And after a while, I think probably just with some experience and time, realized just being there, like showing up consistently on a weekly basis is probably more than 50% of it, because, he could count on me. But then
Yep.
we would just like, I don't know, we would have fun. He was into sports. I'm into
Yeah.
sports. My mother would send us all these different like toy truck kind of art projects, and you'd put they're pretty extensive. And I think a little above his age range, but we were able to get them figured out. And the child in me is just trying to get out all the time. So
Yeah.
I couldn't have had more fun, but once in a while, I'm still in touch with him now. And I like I don't think I could have had a better experience.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point is a lot of people I pretty sure one of the barriers to people enrolling to be a big is that fear of I don't know what I'm doing and can I be a mentor to someone? And it really is exactly your point is as long as you're safe and a good person, the showing up is what makes the difference. And being that consistent presence in someone's life is the thing that actually matters, not necessarily what you do or any great words of wisdom you might have for them. It really is just being present.
Yeah, because I was thinking, man, do I need some kind of psychology degree?
No.
What am I supposed to?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to tell him the secrets to life and how to handle his first girl he has like I don't know,
Yeah.
man. Still haven't figured it out.
For sure.
But I just realized that being there, and I think for anyone, just knowing, oh, I can count on people, I can trust people, and they'll show up, and that is, I think, invaluable.
Absolutely. I think too, even if you have two really incredible parents, if you have multiple kids, they both have jobs, and even if those things aren't there, and you're an only child and your parents have tons of time, having a different person's perspective outside of your parent is really, really valuable. And that's kind of my thought process is this chance for kids to get to experience a different point of view, a different um, life experience, and it kind of just grows them outside of what their basic circle would be normally and what they might believe is possible, whether it's they never thought they'd go fly fishing or ice skating or art or something, and then they get exposed to something that they had no idea they'd be passionate about. And that's a pretty unique perspective too.
Hey folks, Tim here with Mountain Mule. I've got a quick announcement I wanted to tie in here. I'm excited this spring 2026. We're officially going to start doing park tours through Yellowstone Park. These will be day tours starting and ending in Bozeman with custom pickup and drop off locations along the way. We're building out the program now, so there'll be lots of updates coming through, but please keep us in mind if you've used us for transportation in the past. We plan on delivering the same quality of service, and we're excited to be able to expand what we're doing to have a busier summer for the teams and be able to offer more options. I completely agree. I had some really great mentors growing up in my life, and I realized it in hindsight later. It wasn't through a program like this, but I mean, that was what compelled me to do it, because you see at least the way, like, I know the way my life went because I lived it, and it was like I'm very grateful for a lot of things, and I could see like how important it was to have those people there, just to be able to count on them, and the way they showed up unconditionally sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's just a different way that someone can show up when they're not your parent or actual sibling and they're just a little bit removed from your circle. It's in a way that isn't affected by all whatever that family circle looks like. And I think it's pretty amazing. And I've thought about my mentors as well, too. And there's so many I can't even name, but I have had the chance to kind of look back at my life and know very much for sure certain turning points that happened because of conversations or advice or just someone being there when I was really struggling. And I know for sure I wouldn't be where I am right now without all those people that kind of had a piece in that,
Yeah, it's very fun to look back and see the way the roles that people
for sure.
played at different times in our
Yeah.
lives. So if we're getting into big brothers, big sisters, what's the what's the biggest pinch point with it? Is it a lack of bigs?
Um, kind of how we operate is mentors and money.
Hmm.
We can't do it
Yeah.
what we do without mentors, and we can't do it without money. And so I would say both of those are, and we're really consistently getting mentors enrolled. It's been a very busy beginning of the year. I just talked to our program staff, and I don't know how many interviews they're doing a week, but at the moment we have 30 waiting littles, and there's quite a few bigs in enrollment. So a lot of those will get hopefully taken off the waiting list soon. It's way more than I would like.
Yeah.
Typically, it's more waiting little brothers than little sisters. So the need for big brothers to enroll or big families or couples is pretty high most of the time. But I would say kind of like where we are right now, money is actually the bigger issue and need. And I think that's
Hmm.
probably the case with most nonprofits right now. It's just kind of a wild time because of all the things that are going on in the country and the
Yeah.
world. And so people are a little leery to maybe give when they have in the past. And because we have such a strong community, we have a lot of nonprofits in it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition for the money.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably our biggest pinch point for sure.
For some reason, I thought that number would have been higher. Maybe I'd heard in the past or in different cities that number of littles waiting is a lot higher.
Probably, you're probably right. This is the highest it's been in quite a while. And like I said, we have quite a big amount of bigs that have enrolled and are just in the process. So
Hmm.
unless we have a flood of littles, which also would be amazing,
Yeah.
I don't mind having bigs waiting to be batched, but I really don't like having littles waiting to be batched.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you guys typically doing for fundraising?
Yeah, so we are trying to pivot a little bit this year. The tricky part is if you do really successful events, then you become really reliant on events for money. And then I become just a glorified party planner instead of
Mm.
like having real long-term relationships with, potential individuals and businesses who might create lasting relationships and a long-term kind of engagement with us. So, um, to say that, like, events are really valuable for community engagement and awareness and things like that. So, coming up, it's gonna be a wild month and a half. It's a wild month and a half. We brought back Bowl for Kids' Sake last year for the first time since before COVID, and that was kind of something the community really rallied around previously, and I think they did multiple days and had thousands of people through the space in the span of a couple days. It was wild. I don't think we'll ever get back to that just because of capacity and time on my part, but it was really well received when we brought it back to Bozeman in 24, and then we added Livingston in 25, and this year we're doing Ennis, Bozeman, and Livingston. So it's going to be a wild month, like I said. Ennis, it'll be the first time we've been back in Ennis for Bowl for Kids' Sake in over a decade.
And what is this?
So Bowl for Kids' Sake is, oh yeah, I just assumed that
That's
you
okay.
know.
I don't.
Okay. Bowl for Kids' Sake is a team registers and signs up to bowl
Okay.
of up to 6 people. And that can be, you just decide to get your friends or family together and sign up to bowl. It's a pretty nominal fee that we ask people to raise. And when it's on a team of 6, it ends up being, I don't know, 50, $70 a person,
Hmm.
something like that. And the kind of format of it is peer-to-peer fundraising. So the great thing is there's a lot of people who actually come and bowl, but there's also this kind of web that goes out as they start to ask people to support them bowling.
Hmm.
Kind of like an old style uh, fun run or bike-a-thon or something like that we used to have at school. And then they show up and bowl and have a great time. And it's themed, it's superhero themed. So there's prizes for best costume. We have an art studio in Livingston that has decorated old bowling pins for prizes for best costume and biggest earners. So we're doing that in Ennis on March 27th, Bozeman April 10th, and Livingston April 17th.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is it a multiple days? Is it one day?
No, we're just doing one evening
Okay.
on both of those. The Bozeman one, I think we start at 2 because we, in the past, had lots of businesses use it as like an end of day team building thing
Hmm.
from year to year. So we like that little kind of earlier in the day thing. So it's in Bozeman, I think they're 2-hour time slots just because it's a bigger amount of lanes and more turnaround time.
Yep.
And then the other 2 are 1.5-hour time slots. So solid hour of bowling, and it's really a good time. It's
What
fun.
does the winning team get? Just
One of those amazing trophies that
okay.
is a bowling pin that kids
Oh, okay.
decorated
Yeah.
in at the art studio in Livingston.
So there's I'm assuming there's functional bowling lanes in Ennis and Livingston.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
They have their own bowling alley. I haven't been in the Ennis one, but it's called the Fish Bowl. And Livingston's is Treasure Lanes, and it is like you stepped back into the 80s. It's amazing.
That's probably cool.
It's a really cool space. I love it.
I don't know if that necessarily been in a very modern bowling
I don't think I
alley.
have either.
Also, don't know the last time I've been. I was within the last couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
The great thing is everyone can bowl,
Yeah.
even if you're terrible at it. Like
Hmm.
you just throw it and you're done.
You can bowl or attempt.
Yeah.
Either way, you're
Yep.
still bowling.
Yep, for sure. Not like
Cool.
golf where the worse you do, the worse you do.
So teams of 6, you raise a certain amount of money per player or per team, and then you enter, and that goes to fundraise
Yep.
to, I'm assuming for staffing and training and all the
Yep.
things that
Yep.
keep the program going.
All the things. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we're not providing food or housing or something like that. So, like, the reason we can do what we do is because of our staff.
Yeah.
And, paying admin costs sometimes doesn't sound super sexy, but it
Mhm.
makes us able to do what we do.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I realize it takes people and
For
time
sure.
to do things, and that
For sure.
people need to be compensated for their time so
For
they
sure.
survive.
Yep. Yes, surviving in Bozeman, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
In working in nonprofit
Mhm.
world. For sure.
So fundraising, that's the main priority. Then it sounds like you still are tentatively in need of more bigs.
Yeah, always in need of more bigs for sure. And just engagement from the community. One of our big pushes for our strategic plan this year is re-engaging alumni because I do a lot of networking. I really, even if I'm working or not, I'm pretty much talking about this. So
I met you at a networking event.
yeah, I know. And
So
I was,
it
of
tracks.
course,
Yep.
talking about this. Talk about it on dates. I talk about it all the time. So what I find is out in the community, it is, I can't be in a room of 10 people without someone saying, I was a big, I was a little, I was on the board, whether it was here or not. But here, because we've been around for 54 years, like the roots of this organization really run deep. Over that span of time, I think we have 5,000 kids that have been impacted from this programming. And so when you take that number and then like branch it out to family members and the ripple that happens when a kid is affected. Lots of people in this community have had some touch point. So, one of our big goals this year is to identify and re engage some of those alumni people because they have probably the best voice to be able to advocate for us and to start re engaging, whether it's coming to events or sharing about events or just sharing their stories of what impacted, like you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love hearing alumni stories. It's one of my favorite things.
And you said that's 5,000 kids locally here that have been impacted?
Yeah. I'm like I told you earlier, I'm not great with numbers. It could be 5,000 or 6,000,
Okay.
somewhere in there. And that was at the 50-year mark. So it's more than that now. Um, and just it's so interesting to me. Like, we think that we're doing this for this warm, fuzzy feeling of being matched with a kid, like you were in the Thrive program. But what really happens is the big often has just as much of a great experience and it changes their perspective in life as much as the kid. And then a kid can't change and be impacted with their family having that as well,
Mhm.
and how the child shows up in their classroom and then in the future in our community and then becomes someone who invests in our community down the road. And so it's great to talk about like a child who gains confidence or gets a new passion in life or any one of those one things that might individually affect a child who's in the program. But it really is more about this kind of ripple effect that happens that really directly affects our economy and the future crime rate. And so many pieces of our community end up impacted by investing in mentorship with kids.
Yeah, I never thought about that as much as the direct effect it would have on the mentor.
Yeah,
I mean, because it can give you, at first glance, a sense of purpose and meaning to, if you don't feel like you have one in your life, that you're valuable to this person. And yeah, the ripple effect for that mentor with their family and then the mentee with their family. And you'll never really know, but it could be limitless as the smallest thing can create a tiny
absolutely.
pivot that changes the entire trajectory of
Yeah,
somebody's life.
it's pretty incredible. I mean, the stories are why I keep doing this because it's not easy work by
Mhm.
any means. It's not easy work. It's a lot of stress to be a fundraiser for a nonprofit right now. But then I hear stories out in the community of someone who was matched, say, 40 years ago. And like they know that this particular person and a conversation or multiple conversations totally changed the trajectory of their life. And lots of people say saved my life or different things like that. And we're so lucky because we have been around for so long. There's so much data around what we do. And I'm not much of a data person. I'm the story, warm, fuzzy story
Mhm.
feeling person, but you can't argue with data because some people care about that. And if they don't care about like a particular kid who might be changed, it really is one of the biggest things that can predict like the future of our economy and the future of our community is investing money in children when they're young and making sure that they're set up for success like is the biggest predictor of certain things in the future for our community. So it's this 30-year study came out from Harvard or Yale through nationals about kids that were mentored. I want to say between 8 and 12 years old. And they followed those kids and it was like less than a year they were mentored. They followed them for 30 years and then compared them to their non-mentored peers. And the statistics around that were pretty staggering as far as like their higher income earning rate and closing the income gap by 2/3. And like I said, numbers are not my favorite. I want to say every dollar invested in mentorship is earned back threefold within 7 years because there's less strain on other services in our community financially and less strain on the juvenile justice system and all of those things. And then as those kids grow, they earn more and invest more in their community.
Yeah, that ripple effect is you can probably see a lot of data, but you can probably see it just outwardly looking
Yeah,
at the way the lives are
absolutely.
impacted.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone that might want to mentor but has some apprehensions
Yeah,
about doing it?
absolutely. I would say just maybe make a phone call, and one of our program staff will just kind of talk through what some of the barriers might be. Because definitely people have that fear of, I'm not cut out for this. I have no business. I have my own trouble in my life and things like that. And I think that our program staff is really great about addressing those. And it really is just showing up as you are and being consistent. That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah, I've learned a big hack about that kind of stuff too. When you stop focusing on your life and your miseries for just a little while, even if it's just an hour,
Yeah,
it can bring back so much contentment and
for
happiness and
sure.
joy because you're like overindulging in your life's problems. Like I think can be a downward spiral sometimes, but when you step outside yourself and focus on somebody else's life, um you give yourself a little bit of a break internally, and you also, make somebody else's life better.
For sure. I love that hack. I kind of put it in play if I'm really in a bummed out state. I'm like, oh, who can I check on right now? And then it just for a moment resets me and makes me realize it's probably not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do parents or guardians have apprehensions about enrolling kids?
Yeah. I mean, kind of the same thing. Mostly it's educating both bigs and parent guardians. Sometimes parent guardians are worried about safety issues, supervision, boundaries, things of that sort. And that can go both ways. And that's where kind of just understanding the expectations and doing the trainings and knowing what our background check process looks like, which is extensive as it should be. We do background check with fingerprints and driving record and kind of check all those boxes to make sure we're really approving people for safety. But then that safety piece carries on with the match support specialist checking in monthly, and she's available all the time. If anything uncomfortable or strange or odd comes up, she's just a checkpoint to kind of make sure things are going well.
You said that there's probably more boys than girls that need mentees.
Typically, yeah.
Is there ever a case where like it would be a male mentee, female mentor, or vice versa, or is it always?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Because there's so many boys, we can approve on certain situations a big sister being matched with a little brother,
Yep.
but not the opposite. And the other way that we can get little guys matched is if there's a big couple or a big family can get matched with in that situation as well. And that's kind of a fun thing because both say it's a couple, say you and your significant other, you would both go through the full enrollment process individually. But if you're saying you want to match a little brother or be matched with a little brother and do things with him, it's kind of great because you both are through the whole process and that kind of unique piece of that kid getting exposed to two different personalities and two different passions and things like that is really cool. And it kind of can serve as well as you can do things individually with that child or together as a couple. So that's a really cool thing because often sometimes kids could benefit from seeing a healthy adult relationship as well. So I think I answered the question. I might have gotten sidetracked
No, it's
because I
okay.
do
Yeah,
that a lot.
can you lay out what that looks like? You said with a big couple or a big family.
Yeah.
How does that dynamic work?
Yeah. So, I mean, they do the application process. Each adult in the big couple or big family submits their own application, goes through their own training, goes through their own interview, and they're identifying if they want to be matched individually with a child or together as a couple. And then given that information, we figure out what child might be a good fit for them. And as we were saying, there's more little brothers. It's not super regular. We match a little brother with a big sister because often they are specifically looking for a male role model. Their parent is looking for that because they're missing it in their life. But sometimes that's not the case, and it could be a really great fit with a big sister, big couple, big family. So if it's a big couple, they go through the enrollment process, and then we find a child that might be a good fit for them, and then match them up, and then they get to kind of tag team and decide, this week I'm super super busy. So you go ahead and spend time with them. I'll do it next week. And then we might do stuff all together occasionally. A lot of times, parents of small kids or any kids at all are like, oh, we don't have time. We have our own kids. It's too busy. And as someone who, my kids are older now, but when they were little, it sometimes would actually be better to have a bonus kid with us
Hmm.
because it just changed the dynamic. And I was like, yeah, I could have brought an extra kid along on a activity once a week, and that wouldn't have made it harder for me. And something really special happens with the kids that are part of a big family and them understanding they're making an impact for someone else. And it becomes pretty special situation that's not super common that we have big families, but the ones that we have had have been made a really big impact for the kids in the family as well as the little that they're bringing along.
Yeah, I'd imagine for the little two, seeing the way the other siblings or the children interact with their parents
Yeah,
has a benefit and
for
kind of
sure.
a view into a different dynamic of what family life can be like, maybe, or, if they don't have the most ideal one, or even if they do, but just to
Yeah,
have a different dynamic.
different perspective I think is good anytime for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it's a family, do the kids need to go through any type of interview
No,
process?
no, I mean, we ask questions around safety of if they've had any issues in school or things like that. We do like to maybe have them in just to make sure they're on board because we wouldn't want that.
Yep.
We want kids that are excited about the prospect. Um, but we're really interviewing the adults and doing the background checks and all of that on the adults.
So that difference is just either a couple or the families if the couple has kids
Yeah.
that are living there with
Yep.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine even for the couple's kids too, what a great thing to teach your kids that like this is a part of life to, give back to the community and people in it and to instill that. I'm sure that ripple effect for that kid when they get older is that's
For
part of
sure.
their makeup.
Yeah, there's a big family. We had a gala last February, and we didn't do our gala this year, but they were the big family of the year, and it was a dad and his son. And I think when they enrolled and became bigs, the son was maybe 13, but he was an only child, and it was life changing for him. He was a little awkward and a little not the most confident, but taking on that role of with his dad being a big to this kid who really came from a very adverse background and it was super rocky and they showed up for him a lot in a lot of ways. Was I think as impactful for the son in the big family as it was for the little 6-year-old they were matched with.
Yeah, that makes so much sense for a kid that age to want to take on some responsibility
For sure.
instead of
Kind
feeling
of was
alone.
a fluke that they ended up on the same bus, and the little was, having some bus issues around behavior and social interactions and things like that, so they kind of knew that outside of school, they were big and little, and so they kind of buddied them up on the school bus, which completely changed the dynamic of the issues that little was having, and so it was great, like, that modeling and, kinda showing him the way was pretty impactful for both of them.
That's very cool. I didn't know. I'd never heard of that outside just the big brother, big sister.
Yeah, yeah. It's not as common, but, it is, something that really is an option and might be a great option for families who think like, "Oh, we're not in the time in our life where this will work because we have kids ourselves," and, it actually works out really well.
I wonder if couples have done it. They don't have any kids. I wonder if that's the wrong reason to do it. But they're like, let's see what it's like being responsible for a kid before we have one.
I'm sure they have. I'm
Yeah,
sure they have.
yeah. But that's it. I don't. If it's, if it benefits the kid and you're committed to it, I
Yep,
think it could be beneficial for everyone.
definitely. Yeah. It's like coaching on like practice run with kind of how you operate together and when you're interacting with a kid, whether it's positive or maybe something challenging and really good communication. I think all of those could be good things for a couple.
I was 18 when I got a dog, which was a puppy.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was in for. It's just a lot like that is it was very eye opening. So I could say, so I could imagine if you're if you're a couple of any age or a young couple that's planning on having kids, that could be a very interesting experience
Yeah, definitely.
to just see what that's like
For
to
sure.
have a kid.
Yeah.
What else should people know about what you guys are doing in the community and in general?
Yeah. So we're kind of unique. I think a lot of people, because we are such a recognized brand, and it is national, we're what's considered a local affiliate. A lot of people have some misconception that we maybe get funding from nationals, which is 100% not the case. Every local affiliate's kind of doing their own thing. We follow standards as far as the programming goes and how we enroll and all of that. But as far as fundraising and which events we choose to do and how we engage in the community is really up to the individual organization, which I think is good because, how you do things in Philly is not how you would do them here because it's very just different demographics. We are faced with really interesting challenge because we have such a massive geographic footprint in this state, which makes it super challenging because you can only get so many places. We're covering, in some capacity, 6 counties right now. So I used to know the square miles, but it's well beyond that. It's probably over 17,000 square miles that we cover. Um, and just recently, December of 24, the Billings affiliate closed, and we've been desperately trying to figure out how we can fill that gap for that community because it's so needed there. But we were able to step in and re-enroll and re-interview matches that currently were matched in Billings so that they could keep on meeting under the umbrella
Uh-huh.
and the safety and guidance of us, not just be out there
Yeah.
at their um, own thing. So it's a pretty massive footprint. And let's see, what else?
Do you know why they closed? Was it a funding issue for them?
I'm sure it was multi-layered. Sure it was multi-layered, but yes, funding was probably a major part of it for sure. And it's really interesting in this situation. It's almost like a community doesn't know what they had until it's gone because now so many organizations and Billings are just desperate to get us back. There's so many really great organizations, but none that quite do what we do. And so we're trying to get really creative about how we can get back in there without it being a strain on our budget and stretching us beyond what we're capable of so we can keep on serving the communities we're serving well and continuing that without drawing our resources elsewhere, but still trying to find a unique way to support them. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a big city. There's,
it is a big city. And, a lot of their big needs are in some of those outlying communities. And they also are faced with Native American culture as well that can have its own challenges, but some of their outlying communities don't get all the services that other um, Billings proper, if you would say, get. And so they're really like concerned about Lockwood and Shepherd and some of those surrounding school districts.
do you know how many branches, we'll call them, there are in the state of?
There's only 4 affiliates left
Oh,
right
wow.
now in the state. So it's us, and we're serving the biggest geographic area for sure. But there's almost nothing in the east or northeast part of the state. Really, there isn't anything. There's a affiliate in Great Falls that serves Great Falls and Helena, and then there's one in Missoula, or it's either Missoula or Kalispell, but they're
Yep.
combined. And then Butte is the
Okay.
last one. So it's a challenge right now. Like over the span of the last decade or so, multiple organizations in Montana have had to combine in order to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a bummer that that's
Yeah.
going down.
And we merged with Park County officially
Mhm.
probably about shortly before COVID. So probably about 5 or so years ago. I guess time flies.
Yeah.
Now it's six
Seven,
plus
six
years
or
ago,
7
six,
years. Yeah.
7 years ago.
There you go.
So we merged with Park County, which um, has its own challenges. Merging is not something that you just pop right back from.
Mhm.
So it's been just kind of a unique decade for us, specifically our agency, because of that merge, and then COVID came right on the heels of that. So, really, I would say the long-term effects we're still feeling from those things.
Yeah, that was when I was early in the CAP program, and I remember going to the school and the face masks and everything. It was uncomfortable, and it was
Yep,
unfortunate too because it was pretty early on in our when our relationship had started, so it made it another barrier. But as most of us did, we got through it. But it just threw a that was a pretty small loop, but some of the loops thrown into the bigger things and just people being able to do stuff, I'm sure
for
had a big
sure.
impact.
Yeah, we had, prior to all that, a really robust, school-based program in Livingston and some other small programs in different outlying communities. Um, I mean, without getting too in the weeds, because I don't know too much about it, a lot of nonprofits received a lot of COVID funds during that time, and, some jumped into programs to fill gaps in different communities. Like, I wanna say we had a program in West Yellowstone, and we might have in Gardner as well, but then those funds dried up, and those programs couldn't continue, which was just heartbreaking, and maybe caused more damage for us being there a short time and
Yeah.
not being consistent. And so we're trying to still figure out how we really well serve some of those rural communities with limited staff, limited budget, but making sure we do it on, in a mindful way, that we don't show up for a year and then can't continue. So it's kind of the same approach with billings. Like, as much as we want to jump in there, we want to make sure we can sustain it when we do.
Yeah, and I'm sure if it's too much, then it has a negative effect on all the existing
Yeah,
stuff. And
absolutely.
so if anyone doesn't have money directly to donate, what can they do aside from being a mentee? Is there or
Oh, so
mentor?
many things.
Yeah, what else can they
So
do
many
to help
things.
out?
There's volunteering at events. Putting on Bowl for Kids Sake takes a lot of humans. There's, and even something as simple as going around and putting up posters for events, sharing about them, participating in events. Bowl for Kids Sake I love because it is pretty attainable. Um, and there's pretty low cost of entry. So either individuals or businesses can say sponsor a lane. And that's actually a really great way to get involved, get your name out there as a business that reinvests in the community, because
Hmm.
that's how I choose businesses I go to in Bozeman, is I look for ones that are feeding back into the community to make
Yeah.
it good. So, those are ways, small sponsorships for events, coming to them. Um, Different ways to get involved is if there's businesses who want to donate auction items or raffle basket items, that's a pretty easy way, or whether they're items or experiences or something like that. And then I don't want to go without mentioning kind of our biggest event of the year. I can't remember if I mentioned to you when we chatted, but because we didn't have the gala, we're kind of shifting all that energy into our summer fly fishing event, which is a fairly unique for fundraising events in this community. So it's super fun. This will be our, I want to say, sixth year doing it out of Livingston. And we basically get guides to volunteer their day, which is so generous. But the guides who do it love it and
Hmm.
can't wait to black it out for the next year. And then we are able to sell those boats to people who stoked about fly fishing and stoked about giving back to their community. And they go out and fish for the day and have a great time. And then we have an amazing party that night, which, a party with anglers and guides who've been on the water all day, is really a good time. So that's going to be August 8th. So for that event, we're looking for sponsors, auction items. I mean, geared towards outdoors and fishing is ideal, but it doesn't have to be that. And I think we have 14 guides right now, and we're hoping to get to 25 boats this year. And then primarily getting people who are excited about the possibility of giving back to get on a boat, buy a boat, and get out there for the day. I think I said sponsors. Yeah. So that's August 8th in Livingston. And
So
that,
this all takes place in the Yellowstone.
Mostly, last year we actually had a couple guides volunteer from Ennis.
Okay.
And so we were able to send over, sometimes people sponsor a boat businesses and they don't necessarily have someone to go on it. And that's where we get to donate that boat to a Big and Little to go out and
Oh,
experience
nice.
it for
Very
the
cool.
day. So it was actually really great we sent most of the Bigs and Littles towards the Ennis direction for
Mhm.
those guides. So they didn't have to drive so far. Um, so that's really fun. We try and get at least 4 boats of Bigs and Littles out on the river, and that's
That's awesome.
so much fun. Yeah.
That's a great event to have here in Montana.
Yeah. It's a great one. I love it, and everyone who goes to it loves it. It's a
Yeah.
really good time.
I know I've had a handful of guys do this that are fishing guides or outfitters, so I would be happy to share the
Yeah,
word
I
about it.
would love that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Um, we did Do you want me to talk about that hunting thing I shared about before we started? Or are we out of
And,
time?
no, we're we're good.
Okay.
But tell me where you said there's a dinner after the fishing?
Oh yeah, we this year, well, finding a venue in Livingston is challenging.
Mm,
Um, there's not a whole lot of options, and we kind of were busting at the seams at the last place we were at, even though it was really fun space. So we have the 1900 lined up, which is a really cool space in a historic building in Livingston. So we always have drinks and games. Liquor toss, things like that. And then we have live and silent auction. We have some pretty awesome packages typically.
mhm.
Um, I don't have all of the things, obviously, because we're pretty far out, but pretty sure we're going to have 2 really sweet ski packages.
Oh, nice.
One that is going to have a stay at the Montage. One of our anglers who's come every year, actually after last year's event, said, I'll like give a weekend at my condo at the Montage if you want it. And we got some skis donated. So we're going to have some really great packages. There's an artist who has committed to donating a piece, and she's incredible. I'm not sure if you've seen her art, Sherry Dyke.
No, I don't
Oh
think I
my
have.
gosh, I'll have to show you pictures. It's pretty amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. And we always have, probably some Yeti backpacks, some fly fishing equipment and things. Dan Bailey's always gives us a really incredible package. So there's always some really good things. And even if people don't attend the event, they can bid on the silent auction items. And then we have music and probably some dancing if people feel up for it.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a good time.
If the fishermen are ready for some dancing after a long day.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me about the hunting. You were talking about the hunting
Oh,
trip.
yeah. So this is, we're just always looking for this is another way to engage if that might not be monetary or attending events or becoming a big is there's always something to explore, whether it's a business who maybe is like, oh, we'll give 2-for-1 coffee deals to defray the cost for a Big and Little to go out or an activity of that sort. But one of our supporters, they offered us to be able to come hunt on the property in Paradise Valley. And I want to say winter 24 was the first time we'd done that. And it was just one match that went out winter 24. And was a guided elk hunt in this little, did hunter safety ahead of time. And it was the first time he had done anything remotely like this. This is a kid who, when I interviewed him and enrolled him, he was older for enrolling in the program, 17, and he's still in the program because he had some like just adverse things that we knew it would really benefit him to stay matched for a little bit longer. And so he and his big went out and hunted, and he harvested an elk, which completely packed out his mom's freezer, and it's just he and her. But the impact that made for him to be able to make such a difference for his mom and her budget and all of that for the year was just incredible. And then what happened after that was then his Big and Little started cooking game together and things like that. So it was just this multi-level thing. And that kid went from not being able to make eye contact and look up and have a conversation with an adult more than a one-word answer to actually, after they did that hunt last year, they were guests on a podcast talking about the hunt.
Oh, very cool.
And Billy did most of the talking. His big just kind of sat back, and it was,
What's the podcast? You know,
oh gosh, I'm going to totally say that.
if you
Joe Borden.
okay,
Yeah. Do you know who that is?
no, but I'll
Joe and
find
Michelle
it and
Borden. I should know the name, but I don't off the top of my head.
I'll find it and link it
Yeah.
because that's very cool.
Yeah. It
I
was
mean,
really cool.
that without a doubt changed that kid's life
Oh, for
forever.
sure.
Yeah,
Forever. That will be a memory in his life forever.
yeah,
And then this last winter, it was December 30th. This was one of those fun ways that you just never know when you have a conversation with a business where it might lead, where they're like, we don't have the money to give you a big check, and that is fine. But we had some fun meeting with Meat Eater, and they agreed to outfit the two littles that were going hunting because that is a barrier. Like, really cool, these kids get this opportunity, but then the parents are left trying to find the right clothes for them to go out so they're not cold and all of that. So Meat Eater got their sizes and got them fully outfitted to be able to go on the hunt. And Meat Eater also paid for us to get a write-up, like an article in Bozeman Outdoor Magazine, which hasn't been published yet. But so the journalist and photographer went on the hunt and was able to kind of see firsthand how that went. And both of the kids harvested an elk that day. And again, filling their family's freezer was, I'm sure, something that like they will be able to carry with them as like a moment of pride and ownership and contribution for their families forever.
yeah. That I know. I'm sure a lot of things are, but that's so significant that how could that not
For
change
sure.
lives?
Yeah.
Directly right then, and then just downstream to see that you can do that type of thing, provide for your family in that way, and accomplish that type of goal, and like all the preparation that goes into
Yeah.
that, and doing the training, getting hunter certification,
Hmm.
getting tags, and then to see that through and complete that mission is like that. The skill in all of that to complete that, let alone the experience you have with someone guiding you, but how you can take that into the rest of your life, whether you never hunt again or you do it every year.
For sure. It's pretty amazing. The kids that some kind of fire gets lit in them that they didn't even know was possible. I mean, I can tell stories all day, but that kid Billy, I want to circle back to him. He's probably he's probably 19 now, but they still match and hang out and do things. And his big like helped him get his driver's license. He's on his way to getting his GED, which was not in the works when they were matched a couple of years ago. And he also got him like a fixer upper just bicycle, and taught him how to fix it up and oil it and I'm saying the wrong things, but um, so he got his first bicycle and started riding bike with his big. And then a couple months later, he was like, "Hey, if you ever find another bike, could you maybe get it so we can fix it up so my mom and I could go bike riding together?" And that was not something in the culture of their family. She was pretty sedentary and was on disability, and they did that. And so that became something that this mom and kid now do together that wasn't in their kind of culture previously, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, that
Yeah, so between the hunting and the learning to drive and getting the GED and different things and cooking, um, and he also his big has just been super instrumental in kind of expanding his worldview of what's possible. So they went and toured MSU as a possibility of what's next, and I think they also toured a couple of the programs at Gallatin College to see if some of those might be a good fit for his future. And it's just really exciting that he's kind of thinking beyond what maybe his familial generation beliefs were of what's possible in their family.
yeah, that is so cool. The seeing it sounds crazy almost with the internet and the exposure we have to everything, but if you don't see some of these things firsthand, and I can speak to it personally from growing up in a small town, you sometimes never can just conceptualize those thoughts, but when you see it firsthand, it can forever instantly change the way you perceive what's possible for yourself, and just by being associated and around somebody.
Definitely. And I want to like be super clear that it's not at all about bad parents, because it's sometimes literally they don't think something beyond, say, a job at McDonald's or Town Pump is possible, because they don't think it's possible for them. And so something like filling out a college application feels not plausible for them. And so having an additional person who's like, there are options out here, and let me help you learn how to fill out a job application or apply for a driver's license, or any of those things can be barriers to someone launching really successfully in life. And I think, yeah, there's a number of kids whose bigs helped them apply for college or jobs, or say, oh, what's that thing called? Conservation Corps, or things like that, where if it was their parent, that necessarily it wouldn't have possibly been an option because they didn't have the skills or capacity to be able to step in that and believe it was an option for them or their child.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. It's not to discredit anyone. It's just all those different perspectives and outlooks. I don't know, for whatever reason, but like it's just the right blend sometimes of people and mixed experiences that open doorways. And it's not to, discredit or shame anyone for not. It's just sometimes you need that nuance of different people's exposure and experience, and it can blend and make some pretty cool outcomes.
Yeah, I think so.
It's
I mean,
very
I
cool.
think both of us have experienced that with the
Yeah.
different people who've been touch points in our lives.
What is there? I think they asked me this question in CAP at one of the sort of mentee meetups. Is there anything you could think of specifically that a mentor taught you that you remember or still use to this day?
um, well, I'll have to send you the link to my presentation that I did at the Ellen. I obviously couldn't talk about every single person because it was only 6 minutes and 40 seconds, but I kind of focused on my cousin, because a cousin is kind of your original mentor, for better or worse. I mean, a lot of times my parents would have said for worse. Um, and it seems silly to talk about someone who taught you how to put on mascara and curl your bangs and the intricacies of French kissing, but
You got to know it.
you have to know it. You have to know it. And for sure, my parents thought she was a bad influence and all of those things, but she also was the first person I went on a trip with without my parents. And as much as she was a bad influence, she was fiercely protective of me and lectured me about safety and, like, being careful and all of those things. And, like, you just disappeared off the dance floor. You need to stay, like, in touch with me. And so kind of those things. But then throughout my life, she showed up in so many different ways. There was, I don't know how many conversations about a bad marriage with her and about, like, steps to get out of that. And both of us experiencing different things at different times in our lives. Hers just like a step ahead of mine. And then when my dad got really ill, she I flew to Florida to pack up my parents' U-Haul, or pack up their motorhome into a U-Haul. And I have no business driving a U-Haul at all, but she had driven ambulances and fire trucks, and she flew out and we drove across the country together. And that was just one more piece in those, I don't know how many hours we were on the road, but the conversations there of realizing what a a pivotal part of my life she has been through every single step. And that's not the case with every mentor. There's ones that are just in our life for a little window, but she kind of has been the one who, from the beginning, for better or worse, has kind of guided me along. And then in those last 3 weeks my dad was with us, she has hospital EMT experience and came over every single day after her shift and taught us so many things, logistically about caring for him, but also this kind of support and guidance of what the end would look like and what it would look like to say goodbye to my dad, because she had said goodbye in a really sudden way, had lost her dad only a year and a half prior.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, that just went way deep. That went way deep, but it is this, she probably is the most consistent throughout my life mentor. And I think the tables have turned at times where I've then been able to guide and help her and stepped in when her dad died unexpectedly. And like I said, I'm a great event planner
Hmm.
and would love to not plan funerals, but the honor to be able to take that off of the plate for someone who had helped me through so many things was one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
That's very cool. To that, you saying that some may have said she wasn't the best influence at times. I can speak to that because I know there's plenty of people in my life, and what I've found really valuable to do is to just not take like you don't have to take everything from that person because yeah, there's bad things that might rub off of people or things that might be good for them and good and bad for you just because of the dynamic of your personality. But there's people that I wanted to write off. Like, man, I can't believe they did that when I was young and this and that. And with a little bit more insight, realizing there's actually so much they did that was so beneficial that the whole human is flawed as we all are. So yeah, there might be some things that might not be the best, but all things considered, a lot of people have good intentions and mean well. So it's like I've had to learn myself not to write the person off just because everything you might have picked up from them might not work for you, but a lot of it is. So that's for me. I've found it important to see that, and it sounds like you've seen that
Yeah,
very
for
firsthand.
sure. For sure. And, some of the ways she comes across can be very strong and opinionated and might be a bit of a um, turn off to some people. But from the time I was so young, seeing her speak up when something isn't wrong, stand up for things, whether it's popular or not, despite her method, has been a huge part of what's helped me get stronger in my voice and speak up when things aren't right. And so I'm forever grateful for a lot of the things that I watched with her and she modeled, and just so much resiliency and showing up, that consistency of showing up. I mean, we could go months and months and months without talking, but if I called her today and said I needed something, she would be here as soon as she could drive here.
I've seen to that when people can be very outspoken, and some people might deem someone a complete asshole.
Yep.
I've noticed those same people, they're emotional people, they're opinionated or very opinionated, but at the same time, the other side of that is the power of the love that they can actually express is sometimes so profound, and realizing that it's just a different way they're expressing the other side of the coin. So I've seen that when some people are like, man, that guy sucks. And then I'll hear like I'm thinking of one person in particular that I'm not going to mention, but in a different scenario, a speech was given, and it was one of the most like compelling, heartwarming things from somebody that was like, man, actually, now that I think of it, that makes sense because that same energy of maybe anger or hatred can just be used in the same sense. So I don't know. That's me being really empathetic and sympathetic when people are just emotional and opinionated.
Yeah, I think when you care deeply about something, it can come out sideways for sure. But yeah, when you like dig down and see like what really is underneath that is, I mean, I can get super spicy about um kids and their welfare and their well-being and their mental, physical health and funding around that, and I can get pretty spicy about that. But whatever it is, it's like what's under that, and it's this passion oftentimes to care for people and fierce protection of something that matters, whether individually or societally. So I think that when someone gets spicy and angry or upset about something, there's usually something at the core of it that um, is sometimes really good.
Yeah, it can make you really good at your job because you
Yeah,
have a deep passion. Sometimes it
yeah,
might not come out so soft and eloquently, but
for sure.
if you can see the spirit of it, and that's sometimes how you need to move things forward is
Yeah.
need a little energy behind
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Where do people go to support, sign up, donate, find you guys?
Yeah. BBBS hyphen big sky country, not county, country.org.
Okay.
And all of our events are on there right now. The big push is definitely to get people signed up and sharing about Bowl for Kids' Sake and participating in that. But always forward looking because summer will be here before we know it. And summers book up fast, whether it's the guides that we're hoping to volunteer for the day or the people buying the boats. So thinking about that, forward thinking on that. And also just, there's a little tab on our website that's Tell Us Your Story. And that's kind of my goal this year is whether someone can donate time, energy, or money if they have been touched. And I'm going to pressure you to do your story,
I
whether
mean, I'll
it's
do it.
with us or not.
I'll do it.
Everyone has some form of mentorship story or a time when they really, really could have used a mentor in their life and maybe didn't have one. And that Tell Us Your Story is so powerful. So I'd love that to be one piece of engagement that is absolutely no cost
Yeah.
and only about 5 minutes of time. So,
Hold me to it. I'll do it.
okay.
August 8th is the fishing,
Yep.
right? And then you've got bowling, Ennis, Bozeman, Livingston. Is that the right order?
Correct. Yep.
I'll link all those events in the description. Obviously, people will be listening to this when they're listening to it, but it's going to be published a week from today.
Perfect.
So it'll be out and current, and it'd be awesome if more people, if one person hears about this and supports in some way, mission accomplished. And if 1,000 do, mission accomplished.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing. A really great way that's no cost for businesses to kind of take part is to invite me to come and present 5-10 minutes. I know it sounds impossible for me to present for less than 10 minutes, but I can. It is doable at their staff meeting or any organization that I can get in front of people and just share about what we do because it might just spark something in someone and it might not even be someone in that room, but anyone in that room in the next weeks might come across a parent whose child is struggling. And if that happens and they get enrolled in this program as a result, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. That's a great idea. It makes me excited about all these that I put out because somebody could listen to this 2 years from now,
Yep.
because once it's published, it's there. So that's what, my hope and intention is with all the businesses we've had on, and is you never know when or where, but like one person hears it and the downstream effect. And I think to that same thing, if you go to, somebody's company and a few people hear it, they might not do anything, but they may tell their friend that you presented, and that
For
back to that.
sure. I think the ways to engage are things I haven't ever even thought of because until I sat down with Meat Eater and had a conversation and kind of started brainstorming where their values are and what matters to them around investing in the community, we we probably went to the table hoping they'd hand us a big check and that didn't happen. But what happened was maybe something even more impactful. And so I never know what a collaboration is or business support might look like until I have a great conversation. So that's something I also always invite to is even if a business is afraid to talk to me because I'm quote unquote a fundraiser, there's so many ways that might bring about something really amazing. And if it's that they host a match event for matches to be able to attend, flower arranging or an art class or something like that, cooking classes, something, um, is you just never know what a business might be able to support in a way that's not financial and can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing for the community and the kids and all the families and friends and everyone that's being impacted
Thank you so
directly or
much.
indirectly. And
I,
thanks for coming
I
and
love
sharing.
the work. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
very
me.
cool that you're doing it.
Yeah.
I'll put everything in the description so people can find you. And yeah, hopefully this gets to people, and yeah, keep doing it.
It's moving. Give us a call.
Cool. Thanks,
Okay.
Amy. Appreciate
Thanks so
it.
much.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.